Hey, welcome back. I'm Chris, and today we're going to talk about a 3 lighting setup with shoot-through umbrellas. Let's do this real quick. Now, this is not my normal setup, that's for sure, but it's definitely a usable setup you can do for YouTube. And just to give you some perspective, I'm shooting with, I think it's at 35 millimeters right now, f4.5, 1/50th of a second, and ISO 400, which really isn't that bad. It looks pretty good, it's pretty usable. The available light in the room has been blocked off, so it's really just the light from the umbrellas itself. Now I have my key light here, or my main light here, and the umbrella is almost pointed right at me. And a couple things to remember when using umbrellas is you want to make sure the umbrella is further away from the light itself, because that's going to give you a bigger, softer, diffused light, where if you push the umbrella in closer to the light, it's going to give you a much smaller diffused light. It's going to be a smaller light source, and the bigger the light source, the more diffusion you get, the more softer it is and such like that. And shooting through umbrellas anyways, it's going to be really forgiving and really soft as it is. But for the most part, you want to place your main light 45 degrees from your camera and you. And I tend to have my lights up a little bit higher so I don't get glare in my glasses. And now for the fill light, it's over to my side, closer to the camera, and it's going to be less power than what my main light is. And a couple different ways you can do that, especially if you're working with, well, compact fluorescent light bulbs like I am. And one thing you can do with the umbrella is kind of turn it to its side so that the main body of light is way over here, and I'm just feathering the light through the side of the umbrella where it's not going to be as bright anymore. Therefore, I can go ahead and have my main light brighter than my fill light. I just want my fill light to fill in my shadows that the main light creates. The fill light is less than what your main light is. In the background light, I'm just using a silver reflected umbrella, and that was one nice thing with this kit, is it came with 2 silver reflected umbrellas to where it's bouncing all the light onto the background to give me separation between myself and the background. It's giving me a nice look back there, and it's not spilling back onto me to where my ears are lighting up red like if I had a flashlight behind them. And another thing you want to keep in mind too is get yourself away from the background, at least 3 feet or so if you can. Now if you're working in a small cramped room, you got to work with what you have. But for this, I'm a good 3 feet away from the background, and it's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this setup. I mean, it's minimalistic. It's definitely on the inexpensive side, and it's something to start with to where you can get some good images. So by taking one light out of my fill, you should be able to see that, well, there's a little bit more shadow on here. It's still pretty soft. Like I said, these umbrellas are very forgiving. They're much softer than softboxes. Aside from the fact that a softbox is called a softbox. A softbox is more directional light, where the umbrella is going to spill obviously way behind the umbrella. And by the way, you should shoot through the umbrellas. That's how you're going to get your diffused light, and the umbrella light spills all over the room, kind of creating a nice effect in all honesty. But you're going to see that this is a little bit more softer shadows on this side. It's a little bit darker now with just one light, and it could be the look you're looking for. A couple things you want to keep in mind when you're shooting with your umbrellas is get your light off to a 45 for your key light, get it up high, and if you wear glasses, you might want to get it a little bit higher just to avoid glare. And then you want to get that umbrella further away from your light source so that you're creating a big diffused light. The bigger the light source, the better the diffusion actually. And then you don't always have to point the umbrella straight towards your subject. You can kind of angle it a little bit, and you're going to feather the light. You're going to use the softer light on the side. It's going to be less intense, less of a hot spot on you. And you can adjust this and play with it. Now, I don't have my screen flipped out, so I'm sure it got a lot darker here. But you can play with it a little bit, and rotate it around, see what you like. The best part is with the continuous lighting is you can see what the lighting looks like before you do anything, before you hit record or take that photo. Another thing to think about too is if you're trying to light the background as well, you might want to move your umbrella so that you are getting the feathered light from the side, so that you can put more of the direct, hotter center light onto the background. And then also think about the fact that your light stands, if you got your light stands really close to you, where your light source is really close to you, you're really not letting that light fall off go anywhere else but on you. So if you have your light stands further away, you're going to allow it to really spill off into the room and catch more light behind you and such. But that's why I like using the third light stand to shoot everything back onto the backdrop to really, like I said, give you that separation. You kind of know what I mean. It would be like the same if you took a flashlight and shined it right on your face. You're not gonna be doing anything for the background, but if you pull that flashlight back a little bit, yeah, you're gonna be a little bit dimmer, but you're gonna be spilling over onto the background. So keep that in mind. And another thing you can kind of play around with is, well, the intensity of the background. If I shut the background light off, you can kind of see the background almost goes completely black, and you can play with that a little bit more by separating yourself further from the background, and it's going to go a lot darker. You can adjust your lights so that you're really just feathering the light onto you and not really getting it much on the background and such like that, so that it's really going to go dark and you can get a different effect. You can get a really dramatic, serious effect if you want. Or just the same, if you had other stuff in the background, say maybe a window or something like that, where the window light's coming in naturally lighting the scene, you don't have to worry about lighting your background as much. And this is just a piece of fabric. It's not the best thing in the world to be using, but it does illustrate the point. So there really is a lot you can do with umbrellas and these compact fluorescent light bulbs. Or if you even wanted to, you could get an umbrella kit like this and then buy some LED light bulbs where you can get a little bit more output than what the compact fluorescent light bulbs are putting out. Now they do cost a little bit more, and some you do have to worry about because they do have fans in them and they make a little bit of noise, but it all depends on your setup and how you're working everything and where your microphone's positioned and how loud the fan is. It may not even pick it up. So really just playing with an inexpensive 3 light umbrella setup I bought on Amazon, you can do quite a bit. I'm pretty surprised at what you can do. The only thing that I would recommend is getting a Y splitter, at least for your main light, so you can have 2 light bulbs in your main light, 1 in your fill, and maybe 2 for your background light. So 2 Y splitters you need. You might as well just get 3 so you can have the option to do what you want, unscrew some light bulbs and vary lighting however you want it. And if you have the same amount of light coming from both sides, you're going to get a much flatter look on your face. That might be good for like a beauty tutorial or something like that. But for the most part, if you're a guy, you kind of want shadows. And we'll talk about the different lighting setups that you can try with your umbrellas. Now, in one of my previous videos, I did go over how you can get a nice look out of a 1 light setup by using a piece of, well, foam core board to kind of bounce some light and fill in the shadows. And again, with the umbrellas, I can change the light a little bit to where I'm feathering the light onto my face, bouncing more of the light to here and then to here, and just because you're bouncing the light, it's going to be softer on this side, there's going to be less light on this side anyways. So you can really do a lot with 1 light, 1 umbrella, and get a lot of different lighting situations and have a lot of, maybe not so much control because there is a lot of spill, but there's a lot you can do with an inexpensive umbrella. Now this is the best example of butterfly lighting that I could get in this space. This ceiling is so low that I can reach up and touch it. But butterfly lighting is really where you have this little tiny shadow, and with an umbrella it's a little bit harder to get it because the light's so soft. So you want this little tiny shadow just underneath the nose, just barely coming close to the lip. And it kind of, they call it butterfly lighting or paramount lighting or something like that. It's really a nice, beautiful lighting for any type of beauty tutorial or anything like that. So this is going to be more of an example of loop lighting, where you got 1 light here, which is your main light, your key light. It's almost like Rembrandt lighting, but you don't have this triangle here. You got kind of a loop of a shadow here that's created by your nose. And again, with the umbrella on here, it's going to be a lot softer and it's not going to be as well defined. But just to give you a basic example of what it would kind of look like. And this is going to be more Rembrandt lighting, where your light stands off to a little bit more of a 45 degree and you kind of have this triangle of light here, but you want this eye not to be in shadow, and you would get that shadow from having the light too high and the shadow being created by, well, your eye socket here. So you want to bring the light down a little bit so that this eye does have a little bit of light, and then you got that triangle light here that's created by your nose and everything else. So I do like the Rembrandt lighting look, especially with a little bit of fill to fill in the deep shadows here, not that you have so much with these umbrellas with the soft light coming out. Anyways, I think I've done a ton of rambling today. Hopefully I've given you some ideas of what you can do with your umbrella lighting that you purchased, and how you can kind of move stuff around, and don't be afraid to move stuff around and play around with the light. Just take some time to really play with the light, look at it, understand what's going on. Use 1 light first, then turn the next light on and see how it fills in the shadows, then turn the other light on and see what it does there. really kind of play with it and find the setup that you like. And I definitely recommend looking up videos like this to give you more information. And we can all learn together and, well, elevate our photography and make our videos better. Again, enough rambling from me. I'll see you on the next one. And you know what, maybe on a future video, we'll demonstrate the 3 different types of lighting that we talked about: Rembrandt, butterfly, and loop lighting, but we'll use hard lights so you can actually see the shadows more. But that's not this video. This video is mainly about the umbrellas. Again, I'm rambling. We could talk all day about this stuff. Point is, if it helped you and it helped you set up your lights to get the look that you were looking for, well, that's all that I want. And if it did, let me know in the comments below. And I thank you if you're new and you're watching today. I definitely welcome you, and I thank you for subscribing. And again, I'll see you on the next one because I'm rambling too much.